keeping an eye on. They're gonna look again in a week or two. Yeah.
Because he was a little sick to start out with.
Yeah.
So something had to be going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good morning. Right. Welcome to the worship service of the First Unitarian Church of Hobart, where we strive to put love at the center of how we show up in the world. So each week during our Sunday morning worship services, we join together in affirming that love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament. Service is its prayer. And this is our covenant. To dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Since not everyone can attend in person, we are streaming this worship service online, and we extend a special welcome to all who are joining us virtually. The joys and sorrows portion of our service, however, is private, and we will temporarily pause the stream for that. Other than that, this worship service is being recorded and will be available for future viewing on our website. This morning, we'll be hearing from Sandi, one of our fellow congregants here. Yay! Please turn off or silence your devices, and as you do so, allow yourself to enter sacred time together. Please take a breath. And another. And join in the spirit of reverence. I invite you now to join me in reading aloud the responsive reading on the screen. I will read the regular text and invite you to join me in reading the blue text. There we go. Okay. There we go. Okay. Let's see. No, wait. Hold on. To laugh? That's all right. I do not have that screen. Don't have that screen? Okay, so it's number 658. That should be what? In the gray book, I think. Right? Yeah. All right. To laugh is to risk appearing the fool. To reach out for another is to risk exposing our true self. To love is to risk not being loved in return. To try is to risk failure. chalice is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. Suggests the transformation that takes place when we are held within religious community. When we light the chalice in worship, we illuminate a world that we feel called upon to serve with love and a sense of justice. Please join us in lighting our chalice by reading together the words on the screen and in your order of service. We gather this hour as people of faith with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together.
Unitarian Universalists do not live by or try to live by a creed. We have a covenant. This congregation revisits the covenant every week by reciting 3 of our covenants, and you please, I guess not on there. Okay, answer with, may we forgive ourselves and each other and begin again in love. For all the ways that we have neglected to participate in the life of our congregations, may we forgive ourselves and each other and begin again in love. For all the ways that we have not supported the goals of the congregation, may we forgive ourselves and each other and begin again in love. For all the ways that we have not accepted and civilly engaged with challenging situations, may we forgive ourselves and each other and begin again in love. Now, turn and greet your neighbors, all these friendly, beautiful faces that are here today. Hi. What do you want to do? Sit with her for a minute. Okay, please rise and stand in body and spirit for hymn number 1007 in the teal hymnal. There's a river flowing in my soul. Please be seated. Whenever we gather with others, we have the opportunity to share our own private joys and sorrows with one another, to hold them together so that the lightness of our joys lifts up and the sadness of our sorrows is lessened. I will come around the room with the microphone so that anyone would like to share joys, sorrows, or any situations you want to talk about. I'll come to you, share your name, and share with us. silent sanctuaries of our hearts, may we continue to weave the fabric of this community into ever more beautiful patterns. Now please stand if you're able and sing the doxology.
Please be seated. I invite you now to join me in reading aloud the responsive reading on the screen. I will read the regular text, and I invite you to join me in reading the blue text. Let me not pray to be sheltered from dangers, but to be fearless in facing them. Let me not beg for the stilling of my pain, but for the heart to conquer it. Let me not crave an anxious fear to be saved, but hope for the patience to win our collective freedom. Grant me that I may not be a coward, feeling your mercy in my success alone, but let me find the grasp of your hand in my failure. This morning I'm going to be reading a wonderful story by one of my favorite kids' books writers, Kobe Yamada, called Why Not? This is it. This is your rare and wonderful life. It is the greatest gift you will ever receive. Everything you want and everything you dream of is waiting. You have a vast treasure of talents and potential hidden inside you, and your life is ready for you to discover all of it. Why not find out how remarkable your life can be? Why not make the most of every moment? You were born for wonder and awe. You are here to marvel at the beauty of this world and to experience the joy of being alive. Be a stranger to the ordinary. Get to know the unknown. Why not try something you've never tried before? Why not go somewhere you've never gone before? Stay curious. Have adventures. Make room for what you love. Discover the world's wonders and know that you are one of them too. So much of the life depends on how you look at things and how you see yourself. You are shaped by the choices you make. How will you answer when today asks what you learned from yesterday? Why not see how good your best can be? Why not make the most of your life? Things won't always go according to plan. The way might be difficult. You may get worn out and tired. You may feel lost. You might want to turn back. But know that every step moves you a little closer to where you want to go, if you have the courage to take it. Embrace it all, even the messy parts, especially the messy parts. And don't be fooled by fear. It has a way of shrinking possibilities and diminishing dreams. Have faith. Keep going. You can be the difference. You are made of sunrises and second chances. You are the hope of a brand new day. Even if the odds are 1,000,000 to 1, why not be the one? Don't wait for things to be great, to be grateful. Paying attention is an act of love. Noticing is caring. Beauty is all around and in everything. It just needs you to recognize it. Why not look for the good in everyone and everything? Open your heart. Take it all in. This is your everywhere. This is your home. You are connected to everything, and everything is connected to you. Every little bit of good helps. Every act of kindness builds. Every bit of compassion heals. Everything you have ever loved becomes a part of you. It all counts. Why not leave this world a little better than you found it?
And now please rise and bow your spirit for our little hymn number 6, just as one.
As long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Oh, with pain I made my way, still with hope I meet each day. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to life. Just as long as vision lasts, I must answer yes to truth. In my dream and in my dark, always that elusive spark. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to truth. Just as long as my heart beats, I must answer yes to love. Disappointment pierced me through, still I kept on loving you. If they ask what I did best, tell them I said yes to love. Please be seated. In early January of 2009, in the days before our first black president was inaugurated, 36 participants took part in a Unitarian Universalist Association convocation in Baltimore, Maryland. They were a diverse group of liberal religious leaders engaged in meeting with the express purpose of talking about how Unitarian Universalism could move beyond its emphasis on freedom from creeds, dogmas, idolatries of the mind and spirit, to freedom for what our faith calls us to do, how we can put our faith into action. Those who attended wrestled with this topic in all its ramifications and shared their thoughts and stories in essays that they shared with each other before they met. Sometime in the following year, a collection of 22 of those essays was gathered together in a book published by Skinner House, one of two publishing companies that are under the parentage of the Unitarian Universalist Association. The title of that book is the title of this 5-part sermon series that begins today, A People So Bold, with the subtitle of Theology and Ministry for Unitarian Universalists. Earlier this month, 5 of your fellow congregants met with Pastor Tom to engage in the organizing of a 5-part sermon series based on this book. We were provided with 4 choices, and the book we chose was A People So Bold. Our task was to read and discuss the book, and each prepare a sermon or on a part or parts of the book that particularly resonated with us. Still can't believe I actually offered to go first. But here I am. Many of the essays moved and inspired me, and at least one of them deeply disturbed me, especially as it reminded me that our history as advocates for human rights and freedom has not always been unalloyed. Initially, that was what I thought I would focus on for my sermon today, especially given the election and the perils facing us today. But then I turned to other essays, particularly in the light of the Bible studies discussions with Pastor Tom. He's been leading these discussions on Monday evenings, and we've been reading the prophets. The words of Isaiah and Amos have always resonated with me, more than fear and trembling. And in reading and rereading A People So Bold, I found a sense of renewal, of rebirth, kind of a quickening of the moral imagination that had brought me through the front doors of this church in the very beginning of my time here. The prophets were impassioned and committed, angry at injustice, and brokenhearted over the people's abandonment of the covenant between God and the people. The prophets were deputized by God to teach and implore the people to do the work that was expected of them, to come away from greed and exploitation and violence, and yes, evil. That concept, that word, that idea, we find so difficult to understand and define. Several of the essays spoke to the question of what it means to be a prophetic church. Let's think back to that time after Barack Obama was elected, when we all bathed in the glow of possibility. When these 36 religious liberals were meeting and sharing their essays, they also were basking in that possibility, savoring the audacity of hope that Barack Obama so eloquently wrote about. That was almost exactly 16 years ago. Thinking of the intervening years frequently fills me with both sorrow and astonishment. Sorrow that we didn't do more with the opportunities we had, and astonishment that we were able to achieve what we did. Especially when you consider that our society is now seemingly divided between a commitment to democracy and a flirtation with autocracy. What does a liberal religious institution, a community of people devoted in large part to diversity, equity, and inclusion, do now that those words and concepts have become pariahs in the greedy corporate world? Can we realize the dream of being a prophetic church? Can we fulfill the task that these 36 liberal co-religionists imagined as possible 16 years ago? Somewhere in my reading over the past 2 weeks, I read the phrase, "What they dreamed is ours to do." And James Baldwin, in his book, The Fire Next Time, which was published in 1963, wrote then that everything now, we must assume, is in our hands. We have no right to assume otherwise. And that is a mantra that has been repeated in various forms before and since. So what would a prophetic church look like? Could we be so identified? Are we already on the path? Is there more work to be done before we can claim that mantle? Let's take a look. In her essay in the book, Paula Cole-Jones tells us that the task of prophetic ministry is to break out of unjust, socially conditioned beliefs so we do not pass them on to another generation, saddling them with work that is ours to do. And she also notes that justice brought about through social change will change us in the process, helping us to realize our common humanity. Societal truth-telling can't help but accompany social change, and we will also be faced with learning new ways to bring about social change, and we may resist some of that. Jones adds that collective commitment is an intellectual, spiritual, emotional, and physical act. It is a spiritual task to humble ourselves and lower our defenses long enough to find our connection to the issue and to each other. Mark Hicks asks, how do we help ourselves and our colleagues sustain a culture that fosters growth in a climate fraught with danger? And I think that is a particularly important question to pose at this particular time. Racism and xenophobia and oppression are on the menu for the coming years, again and still. And they continue to thrive and grow and gain power through our silence, our unease with seeing and naming and calling out what is evil. James Luther Adams, the influential 20th century Unitarian theologian, author, and minister, wrote that Unitarians will never become effective change agents until we take seriously the reality of evil. Meg Riley, who wrote the first essay published in A People So Bold, and from whom I stole the title for this sermon, is quoted by another writer saying, "We need to articulate a visionary theology of who we are and who we are in the world. When we enter this sanctuary on Sunday, we need to be reminded of where we are now and how the now connects with the internal human experience. We need to be reminded of how we, as a religious body, want to show up in the world. Ralph Waldo Emerson would ask us to remember who we have been called to be, who our faith calls us to be. Adam Gerhardstein tells of the urgency of this moment, that grounded in the here and the now, prophetic churches connect this moment, this very moment, with eternity, and that we are each members of the great family of souls. We must never forget that we have religious reasons for our public witness. We have a slogan that we have adopted, bringing Unitarian Universalism to Northwest Indiana. Well, we must be sure that we have a clear sense of what our faith requires of us in order to do that work of bringing Unitarian Universalism to others. Peter Morales reminds us that loud voices urge us to choose fear, denial, reactionary nationalism, and racism. We must resist and choose the better way, urged by every major religious tradition. We must choose a path that is founded on the recognition that we are connected, that we are all in this together. So, what do we do now? And if not now, when? 2 years before he ran for the presidency and was elected, Barack Obama published an extraordinary book, The Audacity of Hope: Thoughts on Reclaiming the American Dream. The book received a wide variety of reviews, some not so kind, and others effusive with praise. What struck me at the time was a discussion I had with some people around the very idea of hope. Hope was for fools, a couple of people said, echoing Benjamin Franklin and others who saw hope as misplaced intelligence at best. So it was interesting to me that the first essay in the book spoke favorably of hope. Meg Riley wrote that hope is best understood as an existential choice, cultivated as a spiritual discipline, and offered through concrete forms of action. It's not for Miss Riley, the feathery thing that Emily Dickinson wrote about and dismissed in the last 2 lines of her poem as having never asked a crumb of me. Rather, she suggests that because prophetic congregations orient themselves squarely toward the future, prophetic eyes see through the lens of hope, not hope born of naivete or from casting our gazes away from oppression and suffering, but hope as a spiritually disciplined response to the whole, a commitment to action. And Sharon Welch suggests that as prophetic churches, we should be artisans of hope, working with the clay of human longing. Martin Luther King Jr. himself spoke of finite disappointment, but said we must never lose infinite hope. And the virologist and biophilosopher Jonas Salk, he of the polio vaccine, said of hope that it lies in dreams, in imagination, and in the courage of those who dare to make dreams into reality. I very much like the idea of being artisans of hope and using that hope to realize dreams and take action to move us further in the direction of being the prophetic church I know we want to be. And if not now, when? I see another important aspect of becoming or being a prophetic church as a recognition of the vital central importance of radical caring. Again, I think that our moral imagination has to be called into service here. We have to recognize the oppression and division and hatred and, yes, evil that have hurt so very many people in the interest of the powerful. I ask with Sharon Welch, so just how would we manage a universe in which the attempt to destroy evil is seen as a form of insanity? We have to recognize that the evil of ignorance, of not understanding or seeing or learning about the lives of those who are oppressed, is as responsible for their plight and our brokenness as are the machinations of the powerful. Radical caring asks us to hear and see and investigate and understand the way in which the very structure of our society has developed and perpetuated the harms done to those who suffer from its inequities. Like a physician, we cannot even begin to think of a cure until we have clearly identified the causes and conditions that led to the illness. And illness it is. We have to try to work hard to become Unitarian Universalist bodhisattvas of compassion. And as Kate Lohr suggests, we need to learn firsthand what love sounds like when it speaks in public. If not now, when? Kate Liu, in her essay, amplifies the concern for each other when she says, a prophetic ministry spurs change and challenges resistance, and yet it must also engage in conflict in ways that do not jeopardize relationships. In this church, in this very place, we have had more than one occasion on which there was considerable disagreement about something we were proposing to undertake. Now that I've been here for a while, I like to think of it as a momentary deviation that we may have taken on our true path to being human religiously. As Jill Schwenman noted, congregations are places where we practice living our ideals. They are places where we also make mistakes and work to correct them. Both Reinhold Niebuhr and James Luther Adams have warned us about the dangers of arrogance and know-it-allism and how it would likely be destructive of any social change we would be hoping to work towards. We must always be mindful of respecting our own covenant with each other here, before we even begin to think of working to repair the world. And we must erect the necessary covenants to work with others outside of our church. Mark Hicks suggests that social change requires the ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn narratives that shape the stories we tell about ourselves, the stories we tell about others, and how we make meaning of the stories that are told by us. And you can see how that ability would also greatly contribute to our work in radical caring. Our covenant, as Paul Racer reminds us, is a contract based on mutual obligation. Maybe that word, contract, makes us a little uncomfortable. Perhaps it rings too much of doctrine and creed, things of which we are truly leery. But as several of the participants in the Baltimore convocation pointed out, covenants are absolutely essential to prophetic churches. They ask that we acknowledge that mutual acceptance, authentic dialogue, and forgiveness of others and one another must always be essential to our spiritual lives. That while we will still stumble and make mistakes, by working together in support of one another, we will be able to work through any sense of confusion and fear to better serve our church community and the wider community through dark and challenging times. Our mission statement asks us to grow spiritually, build community, and live our values. And we come here on Sundays for a variety of reasons: to hear and sing great music, to see friends and fellow congregants, to take a time during the service to learn of the joys and sorrows of members of our church family, to show our support for the church and our work outside the church by putting something in the baskets and cups. And perhaps, most importantly, we come to receive the vital spiritual sustenance that enables us to move through the rest of the week with grace and strength and a greater sense of what it means to be truly human. During the service, we recite the affirmation of faith, putting love at the center of what we do. We call it the doctrine of this church. We also elevate the quest for truth and service to each other and to the community at large. When we light the chalice, we do it gathered together as people of faith. The chalice is a beacon of hope and a symbol of our search for truth and meaning. And every week we join together in recovenanting, reminding ourselves of the ways in which we need to work with each other and within the congregation, and reminding ourselves that we are not perfect and maybe have a thing or two to work on. I would say that based on my reading of A People So Bold and my experiences here at First Unitarian, if we are not yet the prophetic church envisioned by those 36 co-religionists in Baltimore in that hopeful time in January of 2009, we've made a pretty good start. We will continue to work to broaden our vision as a prophetic church, using our moral imagination, our radical caring, our prophetic voices, our covenanting, and our commitments of hope and spiritual audacity to co-create a holy. The beginning is near. Now it's time for our offering.
We choose to welcome the Spirit of life, join in our aliveness, and share our resources. This month we are sharing with our loose change for social change offering.
Ministerial discretion.
Oh, I see. Minister's discretionary fund. The money in the baskets goes to sustaining the mission of our congregation. The money in the cups will go to the minister's discretionary fund. For those not with us in person today, there is an online link for both one-time and regular donations. Could I get 4 volunteers to come help? Thank you for your prayers, your presence, your service, and your gifts. We are truly grateful.
I have a few announcements. This next Saturday, January 4th, we'll be partnering with Pastor Leah's Hobart Methodist Church for lasagna baking blitz from 2:30 to 4:30 at her church. Warm your own heart and someone else's by helping to assemble, bake, and deliver lasagnas to families in need in Hobart. Let Michelle know if you would like to help out. And if anyone would just like to donate cash for ingredients, that'd be great too. See Michelle. Pastor Tom has been holding a weekly 90-minute Bible study on Mondays. There will be no Bible study this Monday. We will be back on Monday, January 6th, 6 p.m. on the church Zoom. Okay, sorry. I'm live.
I know you're live.
I'm still live. We have been having toner issues on our copier, so the calendars are about a week behind. Okay, the end of the year is upon us. The Office and Finance Ministry will be getting the tax documents out. They'll be sending them via email and mail. Do you want to do yours before I?
Before the videos?
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. As most of you know, Pastor Tom is leaving us in June, and the board has appointed me the chairperson of the Ministerial Search Committee. So, the search committee is comprised of 6 other individuals. A few of them are in the room today. Mary Ann, Carla, is Jess here? Jess is not here. Okay, so there's only 3 of us today. So, we have been hard at work. The committee has finished our 40-page congregational record. This is the earliest it's ever been done in our search history, period. So congratulate all of them. This is the first thing that all possible ministers see from us. So the fact that we've got it out there so early, search just started, So we are getting like the very first crop of ministers that are entering into the search portal. So gives us the best odds of possibly finding a great mix. So, and yes, we do have our first candidate already before January 1st. So, as we enter into this sacred time with our candidate, please pray, send vibes, good energy, anything you've got that's good, send it our way. And I will be making, or we will be making, monthly announcements from here on out. Thank you.
For 6 weeks, we collected for family giving, and that went to Hearts in Motion for a couple of families that were in need, ladies with their children that are transitioning into homes after being in abusive homes. We have a video here that Myra from our church has taken while these families were opening their presents or their gifts or their envelopes. We collected $1,111. And it was split between these two families. The last one you saw was a new boyfriend. The mother wasn't there at the time when they went to deliver it, so that was the new boyfriend of this mother, so you know why there was a man there. Okay, that's it.
Now please rise and body your spirit to join in singing. You can be seated, thank you. So now some closing words by Wayne B. Arneson. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard. The path is never clear. And the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down, there is another truth. You are not alone. I invite you now to join me in reciting the words in blue. Oh. I invite you all now to join me in reciting the words in blue on the screen to accompany our extinguishing of the chalice. May we continue to carry in our hearts the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment until we are together again.